and Kia Ora viewers. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Strategy. Today's guest is a visionary, a dear friend, and the founder of one of New Zealand's most exciting craft spirit brands, Moksha Gin. We are joined by Nicola Voice. From a dream to a distillery, Nicola's journey is more than just making premium gin. It's about crafting a brand rooted in heritage, purpose, and an unwavering sense of authenticity. Nicola, welcome to Let's Talk Strategy. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for that warm introduction. It's lovely to be here talking to you again, Anka.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Nicola. So let's quickly start. This is a 5-segment question answer session that we run. So we'll start with the first segment, which is called From the Idea. The first question in this segment is, now, what sparked the idea of Moksha Gin and how did you go from concept to an actual bottle?
Yeah, great question. And it's rather a long answer. But there's several things which have informed, I guess, the genesis of Moksha. So the first would be my love of gin, which actually came from my grandfather. So my grandfather used to really enjoy having Gordon's gin and tonic after golf on a Saturday. So he introduced me to my first gin, I think, when I was at university. And yeah, from there, my love of gin grew. So that was the first thing. So I liked gin a long time before it was popular, a little bit. At that time, it was really considered a bit of an old person's drink. It was really before the craft boom, gin and spirits in New Zealand. But so I always loved gin. And then the second part of it is, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go and live and work in India, in Bengaluru, in southern India, in 2009. Absolutely fell in love with India, the flavors, the colors, the vibrancy, everything about it. And really, when I came back to New Zealand after several years, around 8 years actually living overseas, when I came back, I decided to combine my two loves. So my love of gin and my love of India to create our first product, which is Moksha Spice of India. So yeah, started in my kitchen with a little copper alembic still, which I actually have here with me today. So this is how it started. And now we scale up and produce a commercial product. So yeah, quite a journey.
That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Nicola. Lovely. Next is, tell us about the meaning behind Moksha. Why Moksha Gin?
Yeah, so Moksha is obviously a word that has different meaning to different people. Essentially, Moksha means the release from the karmic cycle. So when you learn what you need to learn and you grow, then you essentially reach Moksha, or that liberation phase. So for us behind that, it's obviously about growth and how do we learn what we need to learn. And those values are very much part of Moksha and the way that we do business. So we see every opportunity, every partnership, every collaboration, every business success or fail as an opportunity to learn and grow. And I think really at the heart of business growth is self-growth. So, if you can grow as a person and recognize the patterns within yourself and challenge yourself to grow, then essentially your business will grow as well. So for us, Moksha is very much rooted in that philosophy of growth.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Love that answer. Thank you so much, Nicola. Lovely. So next is, what were some of the earliest challenges that you faced in starting a craft spirits brand like Moksha Gin?
Yeah, so the gin market or the craft spirit market is a very saturated market. There's low barrier to entry. So, many people can start like in their kitchen like I did. And so for us, really, at the start, we really decided that we needed to create something that was authentic to our story and that was really different and had a really unique proposition on the market. So, yeah, there was no point in going out and creating just another New Zealand native botanical gin. There are many exceptional examples out there of that style of gin. But we wanted to create something that was really, really unique and bold and stood out on the shelf and represented our unique story as well. So that was one of the challenges, is really bringing something different to life. We also tried, even with the product itself, we really pushed the boundaries of traditionally what a gin would be defined as. So a traditional gin tends to be, very juniper forward, so those pinene notes. So that would be like a classic, London style dry gin, but what we wanted to do is really create something that was actually pushing the boundaries of what a gin was. Essentially, for our Moksha Spice of India product, we wanted to capture that nostalgia of masala chai. So, if you're sitting in India during the monsoon season out on your apartment balcony, or maybe in the jungle if you're lucky in a tree hut, the steaming cup of masala chai. So it was those botanicals, particularly on the nose, that we wanted to capture in the bottle in our Moksha Spice of India gin. So that was a unique challenge, is how do we actually bring that to life? If you think about masala chai, some of those botanicals like cardamom, they're actually present in many, many gins. But we wanted to really sort of hero those botanicals and bring them to the fore and create a very unique contemporary gin. So even the recipe development was quite challenging. And we were constantly, my friends sort of had to stop me from putting more and more cardamom into the recipe because that has its own issues. So so the product development was quite a challenging process. It took about a year in my kitchen before I got to the point where I had created something that was where I wanted it to be before scaling. And then we obviously had to think about how do we scale and what model do we choose to go down that path as we launched our business.
It's amazing. And from that brings us to the next segment, from the magic inside the bottle to the next segment, which is strategy inside the bottle. So the first question for this segment is, how do you define strategy as a founder in such a competitive and regulated space?
So I think for me, strategy is the North Star. So strategy is, the defining vision that sets you on that path. And you need to always have that in mind. But then how you show up day to day whilst having that North Star, you need to be very adaptive and flexible and learn as you go. The market's changing, the economy is really tough out there. It's a saturated category. There's new brands and products being launched all of the time. So you have to constantly be evolving and adapting, but I don't think your underlying strategy or your North Star or your vision for the business needs to necessarily change. So for me, it's that sort of guiding point. It's that guiding principle, that alongside the values that we have.
It's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Next is, how did you approach your go-to-market and distribution strategy?
Yeah, so the go-to-market strategy has had to evolve and be adaptive, and we're still learning on that. When we first launched our product, we were very lucky to have the benefit of quite a bit of media and PR attention, because we had created something that was unique that people wanted to understand and hear more about. And so in the first few months, we had very, very strong direct-to-consumer sales. So members of the public buying directly from our website. And we obviously had all of the shipping and logistics in play to deliver that from our warehouse. But as things have settled down and we've sort of looked to the next horizon and the next phase of growth, of course, it's all about getting the product out into stores. So all of the liquor stores across New Zealand obviously fall within that set, and bars and hospitality are also another important sort of sector of the industry. So what we did at the start is we were very focused on trial, so getting product onto lips. So some of our earliest partnerships, like with VT Station, an amazing contemporary Indian restaurant in Newmarket who supported us from day one. So people can actually go and try the product and then they will buy the product. So that was very key for a premium product at that higher price point, that people had the opportunity to try it first. So on-premise became very important. We were also lucky enough to have a great collaboration with Cassia Restaurant, with Sid and Chant, with our limited edition product, again, which introduced a whole new consumer base to our brand. So on-premise and collaboration is very important to building trial. And then we obviously have to get our product out into the right liquor stores across New Zealand, and that's a different market. That's a whole different set of challenges and opportunities as well. If you're a liquor store owner at the moment, you have probably shelves full of product, and a lot of those products, as the market has slowed down and the categories have become saturated, people have less discretionary spend as well with the economy. That in some cases the stock weight on shelves becomes a real issue. So retailers want to know that your product is going to sell through at the right rate, and that you as the brand owner are actually going to support your product to sell through as well. So what we do with our off-premise liquor store partners is we make sure that we have like a regular tasting schedule and calendar. So we're ourselves, Kitty and I as founders, and Jazz as well, who partners with us in the South Island, actually goes and we do in-store tastings Thursdays, Friday and Saturdays most weeks. And that gives people that are coming into those stores, again, the opportunity to try the product before they buy, and the opportunity to engage with us, hear our story, and for us to hear their story as well as they connect with the brand. A lot of people really, really connect with it, either having lived in India, being born in India, or traveling to India, but also the story of a local business that started up as a kitchen and how that has evolved. It's something that people really connect to. So it's all about storytelling, and we have different ways of doing that depending on the customer base.
I think that's really amazing because Moksha is something else when it comes to branding because it speaks India. So I really love that brand. So thank you for sharing that story. Lovely. Jumping on to the next segment quickly. The next segment is brand community and identity. So the first one is now Moksha Gin, as I mentioned, it stands out visually and philosophically. Now, how did you approach the brand building for this?
I think, first of all, it was having something that felt really authentic to the story that we were trying to tell. And every part of that brand identity was curated and thought through. And, we made sure that everything aligned with that kind of vision of what we were trying to do. So if you look at the bottle, everything from the typeface right through to the illustration where we worked with an actual artist on every single motif to tell a particular story on the bottle, right through to our color choice, of the shrink sleeves, the label, and of course the gift boxes, through to the website. Everything had to be coherent and everything had to bring that story to life. So every single choice was very, very deliberate. Every single word is very, very deliberate. And I think that's really important, when you're building a brand, to think about how and where that brand shows up and to make sure that it tells a really coherent story right across. The first thing that we did is, we went to many, many liquor stores and bars and we looked at, what was sitting there and what was in front of us. And there was a lot of product that didn't necessarily stand out or have a unique identity. So that really informed how we worked on our brand with our agency.
That's amazing. And Nicola, earlier you mentioned about the right storytelling actually helps build a brand. In case of Moksha, what role did storytelling play in attracting new customers? Because as you mentioned that it is more try then buy. So how do you get to that phase of telling the right story to the customer?
Yeah, I think there's no magic bullet there. There's no single answer. There's many, many things. Whether it's podcasts like this, whether it's tasting events that we run with local bars, whether it's festivals, whether it's cellar door events, whether it's our in-store tastings every week, or whether it's our website and our social media, we are telling that story in an authentic way all across all of those different streams. And it's a story, as I said, that seems to really resonate. And then it's also that word of mouth. So people telling their friends and their family and their neighbors that story as well. So, yeah.
It's amazing. This is going really well. Thank you so much, Nicola. Our next question in this category is: what advice would you give to others launching a purpose-driven product?
I think purpose is the key there, and I think you've really got to think about what problem are you trying to solve for your customer, or what gap are you actually filling in the market, and where is the demand? And how do you create and craft something that is truly a unique proposition that is actually going to resonate with your market. There's no point in creating just another gin. There's already like hundreds of gins. There's no point in launching just another product. You have to really think about the why and how you are going to help your product to really stand out in the market, no matter what the category or industry is. And then I think it's also thinking about how do you build true partnerships with others in your industry. And, for us, it's nothing is a transaction. So everything that we do, it should be a partnership. It should be a collaboration. And we very much try to create win-wins. So it's not a zero-sum game. So, everything that we do, we're trying to think of how it can benefit other people that we are working with, whether it's Sahil, our mixologist, whether it's the bar that we're engaging with, whether it's Rob at NZ Rumco, who distills our product with us. Everything is an ecosystem. So, when you're launching something, you need to think about what is the ecosystem that you're building and how are you contributing positively to that ecosystem.
100% agreed on that. Thank you. This brings us to the next segment, which is tools, habit, and the mindset. So the first question is, now, what habits or tools help you stay grounded as a founder?
Yeah, good question. And for us, we are balancing day jobs and we are balancing Moksha on top of that as well. So it's very important that we have, I think, routine. And that we have, that differentiation in our days as well, and how we structure our time. And each week we kind of have those anchor points in terms of our business. So making sure that we do have those tasting events booked in with stores and that we know in advance, how the calendar looks and how the month looks. So those anchoring points of storytelling and connection are very important. And they also help to reconnect us with our purpose, because when we are sharing our story, it reminds us of our passion and why we're doing what we're doing as well. So for me, it's all about managing energy. Different things will give you energy, different things will drain your energy. So you have to balance that within yourself and stay relatively even. So it's less so about, I don't have enough hours in the day. And it's more so around your energy, your mindset, and how you're approaching those hours.
I like that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next is, you mentioned you do day jobs, then you do Moksha. And in Moksha as well, you have been wearing so many hats, like from production to managing marketing, sales, finance, everything. So what is that secret sauce or the secret that you use to be able to manage wearing so many hats?
That's the key for many small business owners, isn't it? I think you do have to have that growth mindset of, I can learn this skill, or I might not be good at social media, I might not love social media in my personal life, but for my business it's really important that I show up in the right way, and that I'm building that social media strategy and content creation. So it's about having the mindset. And I think it's also about thinking again about that ecosystem and your network, and how do you actually leverage others in a way that benefits them, so that, no one person can be master of all trades. So if you have that ecosystem around you and you have those people and those partnerships around you, how are you all working together to create something stronger? So I don't have to do everything myself, even if I'm a single business owner. I still have other people within that network that I can lean on and draw on. But in the case of Moksha, I'm very lucky with Kitty, my business partner as well, because we balance each other's strengths and weaknesses. But I think even if you're in business alone, you can still draw on your network and make sure that you're leveraging people around you.
It's amazing. Thank you. One next is, what keeps you motivated through the hard days?
Yeah, and there are many hard days, right? Because, it's a tough market out there. But I think what motivates us is when we hear directly from our customers how much they love Moksh. That can be actually in a tasting event when someone tries it for the first time and, you just see their whole face change. And, we had an elderly gentleman a few weeks ago who came into one of our stores. He came in to buy, I think it was Gordon's. It was a lot, and Gordon's is a much cheaper price point than Moksha and a very sort of conservative, more traditional gin. And we said, hey, would you like to try something different? And he said, oh, yes, why not? And then his face when he actually tried Moksha Spice of India gin, it was just like, the flavor explosion hit him and he was just like, lit up and he bought a bottle. So for me, it's like that. And then another tasting we were doing, we actually had a group of customers come in and they'd actually come into the store specifically looking for Moksha. And it just so happened that we were there on that day doing the tasting. So again, that was a real energizing moment for us. So yeah, I think it's those moments of connection where the story is resonating, the product is resonating and people are loving it. That's what gives us the most energy.
Love that. The customer emotion is the best thing to attain. So thank you for sharing that. Lovely. That brings us to the last segment of our questionnaire, which is the rapid fire round. It's a fun and casual, quick and hasty round. So the first question, and this is quite an interesting one. Negroni or G&T?
Probably Negroni, and I do like a spiked Negroni, which is very fantastic with this product.
Ooh. The next is, okay, I like this question as well. If you could share Moksh with any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh, definitely my granddad. I don't know if he's historical, but sadly he passed away. So, and he never had the opportunity to see my vision come to life and try Moksh. So, and being a gin lover, I would have absolutely loved to have sat down with him and had a gin and tonic that I'd created myself.
That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Next is, what's playing on your Spotify or YouTube lately?
Oh, goodness. Well, apart from this podcast on my YouTube, I think on my Spotify, I actually tend to listen to quite a bit of deep focus music that actually helps me to concentrate for blocks of time. So I actually use my Spotify playlist to help me do that through the day.
Nice. Next is favorite bar anywhere in the world.
Oh, well, I don't even. Some of my favorite bars in India that I used to visit, I'm not even sure they'd still be open. But I do remember like some of the rooftop terrace bars in Bangalore, and Legends of Rock and places like that, where myself and my friends used to hang out, enjoy cold jugs of Kingfisher and things. So for me, those are very nostalgic places that I often think of.
Oh, that's really nice. Lovely. Next is one thing you always carry in your bag.
Oh, goodness. I actually always carry a pen in my bag because I'm a bit old-fashioned. I also like to, I know you can use your notes app on your phone, and I do that as well, but I do like to write things down. And I do like to scribble notes to myself and, different ideas that I might come back to. So I generally do have a pen and a notebook.
Nice. And the last question is, what's that one thing you tell to your 20-year-old self?
I think I would tell myself to have a little bit more confidence back then, to believe in myself a little bit more than what I did when I was 20. I think it's sort of come with time. It's still evolving. But I think, I could have benefited from having a little bit more self-confidence in my 20s.
Nice. Thank you so much, Nicola. And now this brings us to the end of our show. Nicola, once again, thank you for sharing your story, your passion, and the strategy behind Moksha Gin. It's really inspiring to see how a bold idea infused with purpose and heritage can carve its own space and elevate how we experience something as classic as gin and tonic. Thank you so much for joining, and this is amazing.
Thank you very much, Anka. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Lovely. And to everyone tuning in, until next time, keep learning, keep building, and keep talking strategy. This is Let's Talk Strategy. Thank you.